So let the voter fraud begin, huh? So let's start off. I'm going to start you off here with this one guy. His name is Nick Shirley. He goes around to state to state, and he was asking people, who you voting for, Mueller or Trump? Nice young man. He goes around with his mother, right? Anyway, oh, he goes to Arizona. I made a video again exposing this a while ago, but of course, again, nobody paid attention. I hope you're paying attention now. Take a look.
So this is for climate change or for voter registration? So we're a climate action group, but we're just doing voter registration right now. So yeah, we're a nonprofit, nonpartisan, and the only thing we're doing today is voter registration. So.
And how hard is it for people that don't know how hard it is to register to vote? How simple is it to register for people that aren't registered yet?
Very easy. Are you all registered?
I am registered.
Awesome. Yeah. So again, on this forum, we go directly through Maricopa County Clerk. You need to provide your name, your Arizona address, and your date of birth, and it's really easy to register. Okay. So it takes just a couple minutes of your time.
Do you need a?
Thank you so much. I appreciate
Did
it.
you say a photo ID?
And when you do vote, do you need a voter ID, like a photo ID?
So if you want to full ballot, which means to vote in like the federal election as well as the local elections, you need to provide an Arizona specific ID. If you don't provide an Arizona ID, then you will still be able to vote, but you can only register in the federal election.
Really? So you can't vote locally if you don't have an ID, but you can vote federally if you do not have an ID.
And that's an Arizona law. That's not like a thing that we decide. That's how Arizona has it. And they used to have it as where if you provided like the last 4 digits of your social security, you could vote in, you'd get a full ballot, but now they only have the requirement as an Arizona ID. So yeah, if you want a full ballot, you have to have the Arizona ID. But again, you can still register if you don't have an Arizona license, but you won't be able to vote in the local elections.
So we're going to further solidify this Arizona nonsense, okay? Because that's actually, Arizona is the worst of all the election fraud that's going on right now in 3 different states, okay? And all swing states, all where Biden and Harris sent illegal immigrants. 30 million of these wonderful citizens.
A conservative political group is suing the Arizona Secretary of State, demanding the names of thousands of voters who failed to provide citizenship for 2 decades be made public.
Both sides presented their case before Maricopa County Superior Court Judge Scott Blaney today.
Conservative nonprofit groups are getting involved, and they are not buying that these 220,000 voters are all U.S. citizens, and they want proof. The only problem is the Arizona Secretary of State, Adrian Fontes, he doesn't have it.
Arizona Secretary of State Adrian Fontes was grilled by conservative group Strong Communities Foundation of Arizona.
But you don't know whether you have the 218,000 identities or not. Is that correct?
I'm pretty sure we don't.
Former Trump advisor Stephen Miller is behind the group suing Arizona County recorders. This comes after a September discovery. The Motor Vehicles Division made an error, impacting around 220,000 voters who had never shown proof of U.S. citizenship, but had been allowed to vote for 2 decades.
It was 345,000-ish. It went down to 148,000-ish. Then we got a number that was around 98,000, and then suddenly a new list, wholly and completely separate, of 349,000-ish popped up. Once that started getting worked a little bit, we ended up with this more or less 218,000, but none of those numbers can be depended on.
The conservative nonprofit wants to make sure non-citizens are removed from the voter rolls just days out from the election by getting the names and sending them to the county recorders for verification. They say their intention is not to post them publicly. But Fontes told the court not only does he not know how many people are affected, he doesn't know who they are. The MVD has that information, and even if he did, he doesn't have the resources to figure it out.
Right? I'm about to unleash a bomb on you guys, okay? Drop a mother-loving Moab on you about election fraud, 2020 election fraud that everybody said Trump's full of shit, right? We're about to blow the fucking doors off of that goddamn thing. The policies YouTube and Google put in place in June of 2023, removing every video and piece of information that supported the election fraud in 2020, means absolutely nothing. See, in 2020, Trump lost by 10,000 votes. We got, what, like 10 times that in election fraud in the state of Arizona. The most commonly crossed border state in the country.
2020, only about 11,000 votes determined that outcome. Here we have actually, over 200,000 on the list. And so this will be a case where this class of individuals will be marked, accused of determining the outcome. And whether President Trump, former President Trump wins or loses, this creates a substantial risk of danger for the people on this list.
Now, remember, under the law, if you don't show proof of citizenship, you can still vote the federal ballot, just not state and local ballots.
Okay, guys, so we're going to make this one quick here, but Michigan is not serious in that there's a lot of ballots, right? But there is something that got exposed by mistake, obviously, right? They all are by mistake, trust me.
A student at U of M who was not a U.S. citizen is apparently involved in an issue where he was allowed to vote. The only reason this got exposed is because he himself went back to try to retrieve his ballot. Benson says incidents like that one are incredibly rare. She's working with her team to make sure that this is a safe and fair election.
But it's concerning because it's another sanctuary, city where, Biden and Harris sent some immigrants to, and it's a non-citizen with a counted vote, okay? Now, Michigan is, has been, this is one of the ones that was trying to get Trump off the ballot. Come on, man, this just happened to be one that got exposed right now. All of this going on here between Arizona, Michigan, Virginia, Pennsylvania, these are not mistakes, I promise. We'll see what the hell happens here, man. I think it's pretty apparent what took place in 2020. They can take all the information off the internet that they want, but they're doing it again, like they have done for the last 40 goddamn years, and you idiots still buy into it. So now, right after we go through all that with Arizona and Michigan, now we got a little voter fraud in Virginia. Another area, right, where we're gonna go and have some more election fraud involving migrants, Biden and Harris freaking regime going on here, huh? So Virginia, we got 1,600 people that didn't put in whether they were citizens or not. So they got overturned, and those votes won't count. But they can go ahead and do it again at the day of the voting, though, right? They just had to take an extra step, a little extra work for them for their fraud. Not a total win, but save 1,600, right?
Calling the decision a victory for common sense, while civil rights groups argue it suppresses voting rights. They say the ruling violates the National Voting Rights Act of 1993, which prevents states from removing eligible voters from registration lists 90 days before a federal election. ABC News senior Washington reporter Devin Dwyer joins me now for more on this. Devin, break down this ruling for us. What's the latest here?
Diane, the Supreme Court overturned 2 lower courts yesterday, and they didn't explain their decision, but we do know that 6 conservative justices were in favor of allowing Virginia to move forward. The 3 liberal justices dissented, and what it means is that the state can move forward with removing 1,600 voters from the registration list. That means any of those voters who cast a mail-in ballot, that ballot will be invalid, not counted. If any of those voters show up at a polling place for early voting or on November 5th, they'll be turned away. They won't be on the list eligible to vote. That said, the state of Virginia does allow same-day registration for anyone who may have been erroneously caught up in this purge. They could still vote, but for the lion's share of those 1,600 people, Diane, they effectively cannot vote next Tuesday unless they take some additional action.
Lastly, we got 2,500 voting fraudulent, ballots in Pennsylvania. So what I see happening here is Lancaster, right, for the first time ever, the Amish, big families out there, okay, so primarily Amish communities, are fed up, okay, because the overregulation Biden-Harris, administration has screwed up their livelihood. Now, how do you screw up a livelihood of people that mostly live off the land? Now, that should be an indication of how fucked up they are. Anyway, so, yeah, now we got a voting fraud for the first time ever from a group of people that haven't voted in 100 years, none of them, finally are going to start voting, and you make it a goddamn shit show for them. How more fucked up can you get?
Yeah, Evan, there have been a series of claims made in the last week pointing to possible voter registration fraud across multiple counties in PA. Here's what we know right now. On Friday, Lancaster County officials said that they identified fraudulent voter registration applications that were turned into the elections office. Officials have not yet released how many of those applications have been flagged for fraudulent information, but stated that they were identified and separated from the rest of the batch of about 2,500 applications. This week, the York County Office of Elections said they also recently received a large delivery of voter registration and mail-in ballot applications. Thousands of those forms came from the third-party group Field and Media Corps, which is an Arizona-based consulting firm. Conclusions. Field and Media Corps was also tied to another instance of several voter registration applications being investigated in Monroe County, Pennsylvania. Today, District Attorney Mike Mancuso stated in a Facebook post that during a routine review of voter registration and mail-in ballot applications, 30 irregular forms were separated from the group. After an investigation was launched, several of those forms were identified as fraudulent. In one instance, the individual listed on the application is dead.
I can't leave this out, right? All this fraud between Arizona and Pennsylvania, and probably Michigan, we just haven't found out yet. I don't know, Michigan's something different. Pennsylvania, all lead back to a company, a consulting firm, in Arizona, a border state with the most crossings in the country. I think I said this before, but, well, what do you know, huh? Trump might have been right all along now, wasn't he? And 2020 election was fucking stolen. We know that now. It says the 220,000 votes in Arizona and the 10,000 that he lost by.